brightly shining. It is.
But I'm gonna ask you anyway. How many of you guys like swing dancing? Nobody. Like 3 people. Okay. How many of you like the movie Beauty and the Beast? Okay. What about the song "Be Our Guest"? Okay. How many of you are fans of Annie?
Yep.
Okay, come on. What about, like Hard Knock Life? Like, and you can listen, you can do the new verse, Jay-Z. Okay, like, I get you. Okay, what about, let's see, how about how many of you guys big fans of Christmas movies? You're Mr. Grinch? Okay, what about Claymation Rudolph? You into that? A few of you guys? How many of you guys love It's a Wonderful Life? Raise your hand. Okay, and how about A Christmas Carol? Okay, let me tell you why I'm asking you all those things. Next week, we have a special thing that we are doing in this room. Now, we're Crossroads, so we're weird, okay? Like, we won't do it normal. So we have a Christmas thing. We're going to do it, so we're going to take up the first 30, 40 minutes of the service, and it incorporates everything you just said, okay? It's going to go all, like, you may go, wait a minute, how does Hard Knock Life be our guest? Like, how does that work? And you're going to have to come find out, okay? Like, it's just a great time. We've got about 40 people in our cast and crew that are here. There's dancing, singing, some acting, some just funny, okay? And so you're going to have a great time, and you're going to come watch that, and then I'm going to tell you what it's just, when you watch that, it's going to carry into a very brief message and a time of worship where we're going to have an incredibly intense focus. And so we're going to get a lot of laughter and then an intense focus on God. And so it's going to be a lot of fun together. So you don't want to miss that. All right? Everybody good? Everybody say got it. Got it. All right, here we go. Every year at this time of year, we prepare for Christmas. And we prepare for the birth of Jesus Christ. Can I get a good amen, anybody? Come on. So, we prepare for that. We do it in a number of ways. We decorate our home. We were running behind as a family. We decorated our house yesterday. And then I went to an event at Amy Birch's house, and then I hated my house. I was like, oh, great. So this is what it's supposed to look like, and now we're going to go home to our crappy house. And so, it looked amazing in her house. And it was just so incredible. So you decorate up your homes. We change our environment a little bit. We'll go to Starbucks. We always get a certain type of drink, but now we get the peppermint mocha instead of because it's great. And you drink the pepper, and you listen to different music. How many of you, by show of hands, please, start the day after Thanksgiving listening to all Christmas music on the radio station? We're going to pray for all of you right now. Okay? Listen, and I'm going to tell you what, if you ever want to get under my skin, if anybody even hums the lyrics to Christmas Shoes, you're out of here, okay? I cannot stand that song. All right, so I'm just telling you, we change our environment, we change our activities. Yesterday, because I was going to their house and we were doing a Christmas pajama party, I was wearing elf boxers and a hat and some weird socks with bells on them and forgot that I needed to get gas before we went to their house. So I show up at racetrack dressed like that. I get out and the guy next to me goes, "Christmas party?" And I went, "No. It's what I wear." And so, it was great. We change our activity. We change it all. Why? Because it's supposed to build us in an expectation. We're supposed to build anticipation towards a celebration of an event. Everything we do at Christmas is designed to trigger for us. All those externals are designed to trigger an internal anticipation towards a singular celebration. As a matter of fact, in church history, there's a word for this. The 4 weeks leading up to Christmas is called Advent. And the word Advent literally just means coming. But it really embodies two senses of the word coming. If you're taking notes, it says this in your notes, that we celebrate the birth of Jesus and that we're to anticipate the return of Jesus at the same time. A lot of us at Christmas, we think about sweet little baby Jesus in the manger, but we're not thinking about the guy that's coming in victory at the end. But Advent is all about connecting both of those things. We have to learn in what one author referred to as the already, but the not yet. That we live between, in this space where something has already happened, but something else has not yet occurred. Jesus has already come, but He's not yet returned. And we have to anticipate that. And right now, we're in a place where we wait. And that's Advent. If you want to know what this is like, watch any kid at Christmas time. They start to see the tree go up, and especially if they're little bitty, they have no concept of dates and times. And like when I remember when our kids were little bitty, they come in, "Is Christmas today?" And we're like, "No, it's not Christmas today." The next morning, like, "Is Christmas today?" We're like, "No." And like we're like, "It's here on the calendar." We do little marks, and then still the next morning, "Is Christmas today?" I'm like, "Are you not wise?" Like, I don't understand. It's not here yet. But they're going, "But look, it's all ready, it's all set up." And then you watch them, they anticipate. When my brother and I are very close in age, 10 and a half months. My little sister came 10 years later, so she didn't participate in a lot of this with us. But my brother and I would do stuff, maybe we're the only ones, but we would, before the presents went under the tree, we went on the hunt. Anybody else hunt? Okay? Didn't tell your parents. I won't tell your parents, okay? Like, you went hunting for the Christmas presents, and then if you have a sibling, how many of you counted Christmas presents to make sure you were even? I'm the only selfish one, me and Gert. Okay, gotcha. And so we counted Christmas presents, and you're always looking for other stuff, like who's his heaviest, who's got the biggest Christmas present, and you start to make sure that, like, again, like, it didn't matter how big they are. If I've got 4 and he's got 6, my other 2 better be coming. That's we're anticipating this day where we're going to wake up and it's going to be time to unwrap it. It's hard to explain that to little kids, especially because they're sitting there like, "Is Christmas today?" And you're like, "No!" And they're like, "But the present's there. Can I unwrap it?" No! But it's there. It's already been given. But you have to wait. Why? It's there. Let me open it. And that's a lot like what is being experienced the first Christmas Eve. Jesus is about to be born. The present is given. And that's what we celebrate at Christmas. That's what Advent talks about, is that Jesus is born. The present's given. It's wrapped. It's got your name on it. It's under the tree. And we celebrate that. And yet we're not going to fully receive the miracle of Christmas until Jesus comes again. And so we're living between the already and the not yet. We are waiting. Turn to somebody next to you and just say, "Wait for it." Wait for it. We're going to celebrate that Jesus came, but we're also waiting for him to come again. Here's the problem with waiting. The longer you wait, the easier it is to lose hope, right? And that's what's going on in Jerusalem. Let me give you a little bit of background. If you haven't been here for the series, if you missed last week, here's what we're doing. We're looking at the first Christmas Eve. And we're looking at it through the eyes of some different geographic areas. Last week we looked at what would Christmas Eve have been like to Rome. Today we're looking at Jerusalem. Next week we'll look at Bethlehem. And then the last week before Christmas we're going to look at what was it like right there in the manger, right there in that barn on that first Christmas Eve. And so right here we're going to hit Jerusalem. And Jerusalem is in this place where they've been waiting. And they feel pretty hopeless. There's over 300 prophecies in Scripture dating all the way back to Genesis chapter 3 that talks about this child who will come to save them. It points to the birth of Jesus. And for thousands of years, generation after generation after generation had come and gone and come and gone, and he hasn't showed. They had waited a long time. Even between the Old Testament and the New Testament, most publishers used to put a blank white page. Your Bible still may have it in there. And you don't see it in a digital version, and it's really kind of profound because that white page was always put in there for a reason. And it's not to separate the old and new. It's to be a visual understanding of what's called the intertestamental period. 400 years between the end of the Old Testament and the beginning of the New Testament, where God goes silent. Chronologically, the last book written from the Old Testament is the book of Nehemiah. Now, when we put them together in the book, they weren't put together in that order, but chronologically, it's the book of Nehemiah. And so I want you to think about the perspective of the Jewish people. The Jewish people have experienced Nehemiah coming from a far-off land. The walls of Jerusalem have been torn down, and you get Nehemiah coming, and they rebuild the walls of Jerusalem, and they have this moment where they say, "Come, fight for your sons and your daughters and your wives and your husbands. Stand in the gap against all those that would oppress you as we rebuild these walls together." And here we are as the Jewish people, and we are victorious as we build the walls together. And they think, man, this is a moment of victory, of triumph. God is probably going to show up any time now because, man, we are there. And then there's 400 years of silence. And the next time in history that we pick up the Jewish people, they are under Roman oppression, being held captive inside the very walls that they built. The people of God have lost hope. After 400 years of waiting, God had gone dark, and they're tired. Anybody ever been through that season of life? Anybody been in that season of life right now? I mean, yeah. You've been waiting for God to rescue you, and it just hasn't happened. Can I just say, I am not a good waiter. Like, I don't wait well. It is not my strength or spiritual gift. Some of you would say that the happiest place on earth is Disneyland. And I would say it's a little bit like hell. Okay, so here's what I mean by that. Everywhere you go, you wait. Now they've tried, listen, I love the rides. Once I get on there, those 60 seconds of euphoria are amazing. But then the next 4 hours of the next line wait, I'm just like, I want to start just strangling children around me that are talking and talking and talking and talking, or they're taking a nap while I hold them. Who's going to hold me? Okay, where's the stroller for adults that my wife and I can take turns pushing us around? Okay, like I just want to rent a rascal and go around Disney World like that, because waiting is what you do. And so they go, oh, we're going to take the waiting out. We're going to give you the fast pass. How many of you have been hooked into the fast pass? Anybody, if you don't know what the fast pass is, let me explain the fast pass. The fast pass is a thing, you go to a line, then you wait in line to get a thing that tells you to go away and to come back at a better time. And so you're like, wait a minute, so you're telling me I've been in this line, I got this thing, you want me to go and come back at this time. But I'm here now. And they go, yeah, but this is faster. But I'm here now. So you go away to come back to wait in another line. It's a shorter line, but you wait in another line. Like I just go, what medieval tour? Like if you wanted to get me to talk and I had secrets, tell me you got to wait in line. I'm like, I'll spill it all. What do you need to know? I mean, like it just kills me. Or you get those other lines like at Six Flags and places like that where it says, your wait from this point, 2 years. I mean, like that, like those signs. But I like those a little bit better because as you move, you feel like you're going nowhere, but you take 6 steps and the next sign says, your wait from this point is 1 year, 11 months. You're like, okay, great. Okay, at least there's progress, but it's frustrating. Wouldn't it be great if we had those kind of signs in our life? Even if, at least you see the progress. You would go, okay. Like if you're going, man, I'm unemployed. And how many have been unemployed? Most frustrating time of life, right? Especially if you're a man of the house. I've never experienced this as a woman, but if you're the man of the house, I watched my father go through it, I watched other people go through it, and you're just kind of wired to provide for your family and you can't find a job, man, it just crushes you. Wouldn't it be great if there was a sign right there, it said, you will have a new job in 4 months. You'd be like, man, that's a long time, but okay, at least if I know, okay, I can find a way to wait 4 months. Or what if you're single and you're like, I just want to be married. And God put a sign up that was like, hey, 1.5 years. Wes. Sorry. Here's your sign. Like that moment. You'd be like, okay, that's a long time, but I can wait there. What if ladies, what if you're like, I don't know how long it's going to take for God to teach my husband to put the toilet seat down without being reminded. Okay? Like there's the sign that says, your life. Like that's never going to happen. Just get over it. It would make it a lot easier, right? Well, we don't get those signs. And Jerusalem didn't get a sign. They didn't get a sign that said, okay, 400 years from this point. And after enough of the, is it today? Is it today? Is it today? And the constant no, no, no. You lose hope. Some have been waiting for God's rescue for a long time. Some of you have been waiting for a cure for cancer, a fix for your finances, for God to heal your marriage, to overcome an addiction, or maybe to bring justice against that person who's wronged you, hurt you. And for a while you felt really hopeful, like, hey, it might happen. But every day that passes, more and more hope goes down the drain and the sink starts to fill up with bitterness. When we lose hope, there's ways we tend to respond. And if you're taking notes, this is going to go quick. It goes like this. The first one is we become fiercely independent. God is not coming through on my timetable, so I'm going to do it on my own. I can't count on God. I can't count on people, so I'm going to start putting walls up against people. I'm going to keep people at a distance. I'm going to keep God at a distance. The only person that I can count on is me. So I put my hope in me. And that works for a while, up until you hit a wall that you can't overcome. Something you can't take care of. When your spouse tells you certain feelings that they have and you can't change their mind, or your children make decisions you can't control and it starts to wound your heart, or a doctor gives you a diagnosis that you can't heal. And then doing it by yourself is no longer an option. After independent, we usually move to the next phase where we become angry. God hasn't come through how I thought. There was a Holocaust survivor. I was reading some stuff as I was preparing for this message over the last few weeks. And he had this quote. Some of you can really feel this quote. He says, if this is the best God can do, then maybe he should resign and let somebody more competent take his place. Wow. Sometimes we feel like that, right? I mean, we don't want to admit it, but sometimes we feel like that. God, I'm angry. You haven't done what I thought you should do. And so maybe you should just quit and get somebody who knows what they're doing. Last year, you were filled with all kinds of hope, maybe to conceive a child, to get free from an addiction or debt. And this year, it's coming to Christmas again, and you're still waiting. And you've become discouraged and defeated and angry. And hope starts to disappear. Usually after anger, we enter into the next phase where we become indifferent. It's a survival technique. I've been wounded over and over again, and we can't let ourselves get hurt anymore, so I'll just stop caring about anything. I won't hope for anything, because I'm never going to believe it's going to happen, so I'm just going to not care. How many of you guys know somebody like this? They've given up hope on caring. I know it's hard to admit, but listen. And some of you guys are going, oh, thank you so much, Jason. Merry Christmas to us. It's going to get better, I promise. Just give me a minute. We grow cold, though, in that disappointment, that indifference, and our heart gets hard. There's an author, a Christian author, his name is Lewis Smedes, and he said this about hope. And it's where I want us to focus this morning. He says, waiting is our destiny. Living between the already and the not yet. We're waiting on Jesus to return. He says, waiting is our destiny. We cannot bring about what we hope for. So we wait in darkness for a flame that we cannot light. We wait in fear for a happy ending that we cannot write. We wait for a not yet that feels like a not ever. And I love this last line. Waiting is the hardest work of hope. The waiting. And that's where Jerusalem is on the first Christmas Eve. Hopeless. Except for two people that we see in Scripture. And no, it ain't Mary and Joseph. You'll hear about them in a minute, later on or next week. But I want to read to you about two other people that are unbelievable. In Luke chapter 2, starting in verse 22. Follow along with me on this as you will. Media guy? There we go. Then it was time for their purification offering, as required by the law of Moses, after the birth of a child. So his parents, this is talking about Mary and Joseph, took him, Jesus, to Jerusalem to present him to the Lord. The law of the Lord says if a woman's first child is a boy, he must be dedicated to the Lord. So they offered a sacrifice required in the law of the Lord, either a pair of turtle doves or 2 young pigeons. Actually, the requirement of the law was to sacrifice a lamb. But these guys, something you don't, if you don't know the culture you miss, is they are broke. They are dirt poor. So they offer the less costly sacrifice. They can't afford a lamb to sacrifice for the Lamb of God. That's where we are. At that time, there was a man in Jerusalem named Simeon. Here's the first guy we're going to meet. I love this dude. George, I don't know why, but I thought about you. Here we go. He goes, he was righteous and devout, and he was eagerly waiting for the Messiah to come and rescue him. The Holy Spirit was upon him, and he had revealed to him that he would not die until he had seen the Lord's Messiah. That day, the Spirit of the Lord led him to the temple. So when Mary and Joseph came to present the baby Jesus to the Lord as the law required, Simeon was there. He took the child in his arms and he praised God, saying, Sovereign Lord, Now let your servant die in peace as you promised. I've seen your salvation, which you have prepared for all people. He is a light to reveal God to the nations. He is the glory of your people, Israel. Can I get a good amen? Anybody, come on. He is a light to reveal. Oh, sorry, I already heard that part. Jesus' parents were amazed at what was being said about him. And they knew. Then Simeon blessed them, and he said, Mary, to Mary, the baby's mother, the child is destined to cause many in Israel to fall, and many others to rise. And he has been sent as a sign from God, but many will oppose him. As a result, the deepest thoughts of many hearts will be revealed, and as a sword will pierce your very soul. Now listen to this. Anna, a prophet, here's person number 2, was also in the temple. She was the daughter of Phanuel, I have no idea if I'm saying that right, from the tribe of Asher, and she was very old. Her husband died when they had been married for only 7 years, and she lived as a widow at the age of 84. She never left the temple, but stayed there day and night, worshiping God with fasting and prayer. She came just as Simeon was talking with Mary and Joseph, and she began praising God. She talked about the child to everyone who had been waiting expectantly for God to rescue Jerusalem. When Jesus' parents had fulfilled all the requirements of the law of the Lord, they returned home to Nazareth in Galilee, where the child grew up healthy and strong and was filled with wisdom, and God's favor was on him. Let's look at these 2 people for a minute. Here's Simeon. And let me tell you the first thing that jumps out to me about Simeon. He is there. He's gone through the same hopelessness that everybody else has gone through, and yet he's at church, and how does it say he's waiting? Eagerly. Years have gone by, and it says he eagerly is waiting for the Messiah to come and rescue Israel. We don't wait eagerly. I was at the grocery store yesterday. I have never once in my life looked at 2 lines and went, that's the longer one, and I just love waiting. I'm just going to stay here and eagerly. I went back. You remember back when people used to have to go to the bank to deposit checks, and you would go through the drive-through. How many of you, like some of you like kids are like, what's a drive-through bank? Like, how do you go? Come on, you know where I'm at. Okay, and you had to go and wait in line. Wasn't that always a fundamental truth that whatever line you got in, it was going to be the slowest? Were you eagerly waiting at that moment? No! I thought of some other words to describe how we wait. Resentfully, anxiously, fearfully, angrily, frustratingly, but we do not wait eagerly. And here's Simeon, and he's been waiting, and I love this. It says he would not die until he had seen the Lord's Messiah. And so here's what this is really saying. You just got to get this. He has already been long past the expected life expectancy of someone at that time. And he's super old. Sorry, George, that's not why I made me think of you, okay? He's super old. He's way past the point where you would go, I expect. And no, he is way past it. But then Simeon holds on to the baby Jesus, and he said, Lord, let me die in peace. He said, man, I've been waiting on hope, and now I'm holding hope. And it feels like this. If heaven feels half this good, I'm ready to go. God, take me on home. I've fulfilled everything. I've waited and I've waited and I've waited. And man, the wait was worth it. Take me on. He's ready to go home. He's waited eagerly. And then listen to Anna. This woman whose husband died after 7 years of marriage. They got married young. And now she's 84. We get depressed, and rightfully so, when you spend 5-10 years without the spouse that you'd hope to spend every Christmas with. But here's a woman who probably lost her husband somewhere around 20, 21, 22. For over 60 years, she's held herself true to the love of her life and to Jesus Christ. She never left the temple worshiping God, fasting in prayer, and she began praising God. She talked about the child to listen, she saw the baby and talked about that child to everyone who had been expectantly waiting for God to rescue Jerusalem. Simeon, it says he was waiting for them to rescue Israel. Anna said, I'm waiting for you to rescue Jerusalem. They had not lost hope, but here's the thing. They were not waiting passively. They're waiting actively. They're doing something in the waiting. Between the already and the not yet, they've gotten busy doing something. Listen, and this is where, man, this is what's hit me in the last like 12 hours. Like sometimes I wake up on a Sunday morning and God just goes, hey, I'm going to hijack the end of your message, and here's where we're going. And I'm like, dang it. And so here's what this hit me with, is so often, we are sitting here, I don't think that we understand the purpose of the waiting that we're in. There are so many people that are trying to find their significance here in this room, here in our ministries, here at the... And listen, I'm not saying that you can't, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't. But more of your life by far is lived away from this building. And so really what God is calling us to is, what are you going to be doing when you're not here? You're here for 2 hours. What are you doing the rest of the time? Yes, you should be looking for a ministry, a place to serve here, but there's a reason for that I'm going to get to in a minute. But what God's calling us to is to find the significance and the purpose in serving in the ministry that we have beyond these walls. Amen. In your family, in your neighborhood, in your workplace. And I get people that come up to me and they're like, we're looking for our significance, and they want me to assign them a role. And I'm not saying that I don't get excited to help people find their place to serve at Crossroads. I love helping people find their place to serve at Crossroads. It's the most common conversation that I've had in the last 4 months, because so many people are new. They're like, how can I help? How can I help? And I'm just like, I don't know. I'm trying. But if it's up to me to figure out how to give everybody a place of significance, we're going to always struggle. Because God's putting it on your heart. I get people all the time, they go, I feel like God's calling us to do this ministry. And I go, I mostly agree with you. Except for us. I'm here a billion hours already. Maybe God's calling you to do that ministry. And He doesn't need me bogging it down. Go do it. Build a ministry. Don't wait for Crossroads to assign you a place of significance. Go grab one. I'm serious. When we come to church on Sunday, it ought to be a place where, yeah, if you want to serve, you can serve, and it's awesome. But you know what? I wish church was one of two things for you on Sunday morning. Either you've had a terrible week and you need a place to refuel desperately. Anybody in that boat this morning? A few of y'all. Or you've had a great week and it's like a pep rally in the middle of a winning season. How many of you are in that place? Okay? And some of y'all just won't vote. God help you. And so, it's usually one of those two things. I want you on mission. God wants you on mission. And if you're here and you want to serve at Crossroads, in Crossroads Ministry, I want you to serve. But listen, you are not serving to be known. You are not serving to find a place of value or importance or significance. You are serving for two reasons. One, there is a need that you can meet and God has commanded it. And two, it is great practice for the rest of your life. Amen. That you leave this place and take everything. You don't get to go, all right, served on Sunday morning. I don't got to do anything for Jesus the rest of the week. False. That's a misunderstanding of the message of the gospel. You're here to serve to keep hope alive. While the waiting is happening, you're here with little children who have gone through difficult things or will go through difficult things, and you're there to remind them that you believe in them, that this church believes in them, they have a God that believes in them, and that you want to put hope into them. You're here to work with students that are going through any number of things and any number of challenges in their life, and you're here as they go through those challenges to remind them that hope is still alive and see little victories in their life, to keep hope alive and that fire of hope burning in their life. And we're here as people come and say, I need marital counseling, or I need this counseling, or I need that counseling. We've begun to train some more people in our church, in our elder and deacon body, to say, come, learn to be counselors. And why? It's not so that we can go, look, we counseled this many people into recovery from whatever they were dealing with. It's so that we can keep hope alive in those marriages. We can keep hope alive for those children. We can keep hope alive everywhere we go. If you serve in the garage with the kids, if you serve in the cave with the preschoolers, we put these kids up here, and we don't do it so that we can have a cute moment. Okay, we do it because we can have a cute moment. But we also do it because we want those kids to grow up remembering that there was this special Jesus moment where in the middle of not even singing, some just standing there in terror, that they remember there's a group of people who clapped for them at the end because they wanted to help keep hope alive in their life. We will never be faithful We will never be faithful in the biblical sense of ministry if our ministry never leaves this building.
Amen. Amen.
And if you go, man, I'm looking for the place where I can come and we can be in a club and we can lock the doors and this is who's here and we can just be around these people and not reach anybody else, then can I tell you something? You're not going to be comfortable here. Because while there's a lost person that has a destiny towards hell, we will always be a church pursuing them.
That's right.
Because anything less than that defies the gospel of Jesus Christ. And so as you serve to bring hope into every one of those lives. And when you do, it keeps hope alive. In a world that's been waiting and waiting and waiting, it keeps hope alive. There's a guy that I absolutely love. If you've ever heard of Upward Sports Ministry, the guy that started is a guy named Kaz, and I love Kaz. And I love his testimony. If you've never heard his testimony, it goes like this. He was at a church, and he thought, man, I'm just going to do ministry in a church. It was this church up in Spartanburg and in the Carolinas, and he thought, man, I'm going to do basketball. I'm going to do a basketball ministry for kids. And so one year he's like, we can get 120 kids in here on these courts. So we're going to have 120 kids sign up. And so they opened up sign-ups and they were like, man, we're going to do a great ministry here in our church. And so they did. They had 120 kids sign up, and then they had another 40 kids that ended up on a waiting list. And he was all excited. He was like coming home and he's telling his wife, he's like, baby, we filled it up in one day. 120 kids signed up, 40 on a waiting list. And she goes, well, that's great. If your goal is to put 40 kids on a waiting list, you did good. And he's like, oh, dang it. Sometimes wives. And so he started going back to the drawing board, figure out what can he do. And he figured, wait a minute, if we split and we do multiple games and we start on Friday night, we can do Friday night and Saturday, we can get up to 240 kids. And so he reopened the registration and filled up to 240 kids, and they had their first year, and they reached all these kids, and they shared testimonies of the gospel. People came to know Christ. It was amazing. And he was like, yes, this is awesome. And so the next year he thought, okay, this is great. We've been able to do ministry here. Let's do something else. Let's expand it. They opened up registration the next year, and they had way beyond 240 kids sign up on the first day. And so he was like, baby, I got 240 kids sign up day one. We got a bunch of kids on the waiting list. And then she just looked at him, and he was like, shut up. And so he said he went down to the basement of their church, and he was trying to figure out, like, what do I do? How do we get more kids in here? He said, I pulled back the car. He said, you know, you've ever been in a youth room, they're usually big open spaces, and they're just kind of skittles and vomit have been ground into the floor. It's just a weird place. It smells like youth. And so like it just kind of has this weird thing of like body odor and body spray. It's like a mixture of like beautiful garbage. And so it smelled like that. And so he pulled back the carpet, and he said, I saw what every recreation, his pastor, he was the pastor of recreation. They called him the pastor of playing. And he said he pulled back the carpet and he saw something. He goes, man, every rec director's dream. He goes, I saw hardwood floors. He said, we got permission from the youth guy. We ripped up all the carpet. We refinished the hardwood floors. We had another basketball court. And that year they had over 400 kids play basketball. And they heard the gospel, and they heard testimonies, and people's lives got changed, and people got saved. And he was going, man, but here's the thing. But in order to do that, he had to have about $10,000. And so he went to the church. He's like, I need like $10,000. No, we don't have $10,000. So he went and sat down with a whole bunch of people. He said, we need $10,000 to make this happen. He finally found this one guy. And he said, he sat across from this one guy, and he goes, here's what I believe God's doing. And that guy went, hey, no problem. And he took out his checkbook. He wrote a check for $10,000. He goes, here, make it happen. And Kaz always said to me, he goes, it's amazing how fast you can go through Baptist committees with a check in your hand. I mean, like, he just went through everything. He got it done. And the next year, they're trying to figure out what to do. And he goes, oh, you know what? I figured it out, because we're going to reach even more kids. We can knock out this wall over here in the youth area, and we can expand it out, and we can get 4 more basketball courts over there, and it's going to be awesome. We'll be able to do this, and we'll refinish this area. And so he went back, and he was talking to all the guys that had been on board in this vision with him. And he looked at him and he said, man, we got to be able to do this. And he went back to that guy, the guy that wrote the check for $10,000. And he's telling him about it. He's all excited. And the guy's excited for him. And he goes, it's only going to cost us $1.2 million. Do you need a pen? And the guy said, no, I'm not going to give you a check this time. And he said, man, I thought he had lost the dream. I thought he had lost the vision. He said, no. He goes, Kaz, you don't need 4 more basketball courts. You need 1,000 more basketball courts. Think beyond your walls. And today, millions of children participate in upward cheerleading, upward basketball, upward soccer, upward football. There have been a ton of sports ministries launched outside of Upward that are built on that model, and it reaches millions and millions of kids in hundreds of countries around the world. And at every halftime, someone stands up and explains to them how God has changed their life. And in all those places, basketball went to a group of people that was waiting and gave them a flicker of hope. Reminded them that hope was not dead. When tornadoes came crashing through Rowlett last year, I remember me sitting in the first service. Kyle was up here trying to preach. I was supposed to be on vacation. My wife and I had come up, and in the middle of that moment, I stepped out of my truck, and the guy from the American Red Cross said, "Do you know the pastor here?" And I said, yeah, super attractive guy. Yeah, thank you, Kim. Know why we're friends now. He said, is there any way we can start diverting resources over here? We only taking people up at the school. We need to put stuff here. And I went, sure. And I thought over the next few hours, we would slowly start to see stuff trickle in. Like 10 minutes later, we get during the middle of Kyle preaching at the back door, and we open it up. And if you were here that day, like all the guys kept getting up, and we just kept running to the back and bringing stuff in. And this section over here in the first service, if you can believe it or not, there was nobody in it. Like this section was empty. And we started filling it up, and then it became really obvious this was going to get out of control in a hurry. And so as soon as that service was over, we were like, there's no next service. People showing up for our 10:45 were showing up kind of dressed nice, like, what's going on? And we're like, we're the Red Cross. And in all that, it was awesome and it was beautiful. We worked tirelessly with a ton of people. We got to meet people like Jim and Sharon Dickens, who were back there with their daughter, who came and served over and over again. People like Carol Grimaldi and Kelly up here continued to serve months after that and other places. And so many of you went out and stayed here, and we were here at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock every night for weeks. And you know why we did it? We didn't do it so that somebody would go, look, Crossroads is awesome. We did it because in a place that was waiting, we were hope. The reason I love to do marriage counseling, and there are marriages in this room. How many marriages in this room, just be honest, how many marriages in this room had been to the place you didn't think you could come back from, and yet right now you're sitting next to your spouse? Raise your hand. In those places where there was no hope, God stepped in and there was hope. There's a reason that this Christmas we will give away Christmas presents to a number of families. We'll ask so many of you to give away Christmas presents to help us supply Christmas for children. If you go, I haven't been asked yet. Somehow we've missed you. There's a lady named Mary Ann. Mary Ann, raise your hand back there in the back. Mary Ann is all the way back there in the back, and I'm going to tell her to stay back there in the back. And if you're sitting here going, I want to help a kid, what do I have to do? I want you to go back there, and I want Mary Ann to have too many people just after this service. I want her to be like, Jason, we got to find more kids. And we base it on about $75 per child. And we've got kids to minister to right now. And we want to do that not so that we can go, oh yay, we did Christmas. No, because in a place where hope seems lost, where they're in a place of waiting for something to happen and someone to come through, we will be the flicker of hope. There's a reason that I love baptisms. I love taking people like Mike and Tammy Barajas and these two grown people, and just a few weeks ago, just dunking them under the water and bringing them back up. Because every other person out there that feels broken, every other person that goes, well, I'm way past the point. I've had people since they were baptized that are older that have walked in and go, I think I'm supposed to do that. And you know how hard it is, and once you advance in years, to have that kind of humility. You feel embarrassed. You feel like, well, people are going to judge me because, man, I should have done this before. No, it's going to be beautiful and awesome. And in that moment, you give a flicker of hope to so many other people who are out there going, I can't. It's been too long. I've put it off too long. People are going to think weird things. We are on a mission to preserve hope in our world, to constantly be a flicker of light that reminds people that hope is going to return, that God is going to return. And in the waiting, hope allows the impossible to happen. Please hear that statement again. While you're waiting, God allows the impossible to happen. See, there's a time when Jesus finally does come again. The game is over. It's done. However you've left your decision at that point, that's how it's going to be. But before he comes, any number of things can happen. All bets are off. Before he comes, it's not too late for you to accept Jesus Christ as your Savior. Before he comes, it's not too late to reconcile with that person that you have hated for years over something so silly and so dumb. Before he comes, it is not too late for God to repair your relationship. Before he comes, it's not too late to reconnect with your child. Before he comes, it is not too late to overcome that addiction. Before he comes, it is not too late. Before he comes back, there is nothing that is too late. There is nothing that is too big. There is nothing too hard that God can't help you overcome it. And that is the hope of Christmas. Amen. That we're here to remind the world that it's not over. That racism, abuse, and injustice, that the persecution that people go through, that the rescue of orphans, that cancer and divorce and mental illness and loneliness can be rescued. Amen. That's Christmas. Hope is on the way. We live between the already and the not yet. And Christmas is the announcement that there has been a change of plans and hope is still alive. Yes. Because this Christmas, some people plan to be lonely. This Christmas, some people plan to be in a broken marriage. This Christmas, some people plan to still financially be struggling. This Christmas, some people plan to be depressed. They plan to be lost. They plan to be frustrated. They plan to be overwhelmed. They plan to be stressed. And this Christmas, God wants to give you a change of plans. And His hope will be alive in you. If it feels like Christmas, God has been absent, and you're waiting for a rescuer, I just want you to know that the rescuer is coming. God has not forgotten you. You may have lost faith, but God will never be unfaithful. His faithfulness to you will never depend on your faithfulness to Him. God has not abandoned you. Now, I can't give you a sign that says this is how much longer you're going to wait. I can't give you a fast pass to get there. But here's what I can tell you. That with your life, on the calendar of God somewhere, there is a date that has been circled. And that date that has been circled is a date about you where God is going to change everything if you'll let Him. It's there. It's yours. And He's offering it. For some, it might be salvation. For others, it might be a rescue from any number of things. For some, it might be their literal exit off this planet to be united with Christ. But in that date where that is circled, you will, in that moment, you will never have been more filled with the reality of what you'd hoped for. God's willing. Let's pray. Father, this morning, there are these words that kept going through my mind. It was the words of thrill, of hope. The weary world rejoices. Yonder breaks a new and glorious morn. And so kind of just, I sit here and think about that in our lives. There's so many people that are frustrated or feeling hopeless or helpless today. And I want them, God, right now, if we could just come around the Spirit of God in this room, if we could believe in the Spirit of God in this room, if we could trust in the Spirit of God and the love of God and the grace of God and the hope of God in this room, that we could know that right now, even though we're between the already and the not yet, we live in a place of waiting, that there is a thrill of hope. That it is there and we can be a part of that hope for somebody else. And every time we are a part of that hope for somebody else, we're a part of that hope for us. And a weary world rejoices. that off in the distance, somewhere far, there breaks a new beginning, a new morning. And it is bright and it is glorious. And I don't know what it means to every life in this room, but I know that it's coming. And so God, this morning, I pray that you would unite us in a thrill of hope and a God that's coming. That's what Jerusalem desperately needed that night. And they got exactly what they needed. This Christmas, God, I know that if we will watch, if we will listen, if we will be aware, you will give us exactly what we need.
Oh, holy night, and the stars